Hello and good evening. Hope you're doing well. I'm Joram Ssonko with Winnie and Nakawuki on sign language, and we're coming to you live from plot 42 Nile Avenue. It is business today. First, let's have a look at our top stories.
In business today, ICT as well as companies under it submit their policy statements. UTB launches the country's finance institution of 50 billion green fund to catalyze investment. And Deputy Speaker expresses his displeasure over ministers who misuse plenary sessions.
And now let's get right on to it as ICT has submitted its policy statement. The ICT committee has tasked the government with paying taxes for its firms, including the Uganda Broadcasting Services, UBC, Posta Uganda and the Uganda Telecommunications Corporation Limited, which they claim are costing the country in terms of expected revenue. This had place when the entities under the Ministry of ICT were discussing their ministerial policy statements earlier on today. Our apologies for a bit of technicalities in there. Now let's get to another report regarding the Uganda Development Bank, which is the country's partner in delivering socio-economic development, has unveiled 50 billion Ugandan shillings for climate finance facility to promote green economy. Now, Ramadan Gobi, the permanent secretary for the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, says that the launch is very strategic and timely when there is a lot of money in the global system to finance climate change that Uganda would tap into.
Climate change has become a reality world over, and its effects heavily impact the micro, small and medium enterprises that generally depend on natural resources for their livelihoods. The Uganda Development Bank, the country's finance institution, has therefore launched a 50 billion green fund aimed at catalyzing private investments in local green sectors that drive green impact and financial inclusion. Ramadan Gobi, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance, believes that this is strategic when there is a lot of money in the global systems to finance climate change that Uganda would tap into.
A lot of money. There's a lot of money which has come up in the global system to finance climate change. We would like to tap into these resources. So we put up a framework, we put up a unit in the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and Debt Directorate to mobilize this resource. And we are going to use banks like a development bank to reach out to the people by bringing these resources to them.
Dr. Francis Mwesje, the chief economist officer at Uganda Development Bank, says that the bank will stimulate green economic growth by coordinating green financing options, increasing access to green finance by structuring to address market gaps, including risk mitigation products, and address investment demand in the green sector.
Today, Uganda Development Bank is launching this facility to help support investments and initiatives in that space. The facility, definitely for us, we look at the facility as a vehicle to pull resources from different sources, from global sources, domestic sources, from public and private sector. But as a bank, to begin with, we have allocated 50 billion.
I'm so happy that UDB is also joining this effort to come up with this climate change facility, financing facility, where they will mobilize resources both from public and private sector for the benefit of those who are borrowing from them.
Dr. Arthur Bainomgisha, the Executive Director at Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, emphasized the need to decentralize this program so that it can benefit the grassroots person.
It is Kampala-based. UDB is Kampala-based. but most of the destruction of the environment, or majority of our people, 70% are in the rural side. So it is going to be imperative for the bank to decentralize its operations across the country so that the majority of the people can access it. But even when they access it, it is important to note that most of the people are not, they are informal. They are in the informal sector. They don't have businesses that that keep books of accounts, that have reports, that do the audits. And so they may need to make less stringent their conditions so that the majority of the people can qualify. And
Mukisha notes that 50 billion is little money to address climate change problems. He encouraged the financial institution and calling for mobilizing of international community to contribute towards this facility for a meaningful impact.
This money is seed money. 50 billion is little money. It's about $13 million, my calculated it. So $13 million is small money to really address the problem at hand. And of course, that's why they have also indicated it is important for other partners, the international community, United Nations, World Bank, IMF, and other financial institutions to match this money by contributing to this facility so that it can be big and meaningful, and so that many people can access this money to have meaningful impact.
The bank's financing intervention are mainly in primary agriculture, agro-processing and manufacturing, which accounts for about 80% of its investment portfolio. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now elsewhere, ICT has submitted its policy statement, our first report here, where the ICT community has tasked the government with paying the taxes for its firms, including the Uganda Broadcasting Services, UBC, Posta Uganda, and the Uganda Telecommunications Corporation Limited, which they claim are costing the country in terms of expected revenue. This had taken place when the entities under the Ministry of ICT were discussing the ministerial policy statement earlier today.
I think I will proceed with Winnie.
Committees of Parliament have begun receiving policy statements from various sectors, and today the ICT Committee got the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, as well as several entities that fall under it. Irene Kagwa, the Executive Director of the Uganda Communications Commission, informed the committee during her presentation that the organization had anticipated generating 160 billion shillings in income by December of last year, but had actually managed to generate 67 billion shillings. She says that they anticipate generating 207 billion shillings in income for the fiscal years 2023-2024.
We expected to collect 168 billion, and by December we had collected 67 billion. In the financial year 2023-2024, we expect to have a revenue collection of 207 billion Uganda shillings.
UCC informed the committee that government owes them much in terms of taxes for the state-owned entities like UBC, Posta Uganda and UTL, which just recently closed, and they lobbied the legislators to compel government to pay these taxes.
We have a challenge in respect of the government-owned entities like UBC, Posta Uganda is also a debtor. We've just had the challenge with Uganda Telecom that was recently closed. So these end up being the biggest debtors of UCC. We continue to lobby, again with the support of the ministry, to compel the operators to pay their regulatory dues.
The managing director of Posta Uganda, on the other hand, has asked legislators to support them with the e-government initiatives they intend to roll out in Uganda. Arenaitwi James asserts that they need 23 billion shillings to carry out this project.
We seek the support of this committee to have them commence. The post office is meant to offer one-stop center facilities for e-government service. The close neighbor to this will be the Huduma centers in Kenya, where you find all government services offered online in one building. People say it brings in efficiencies and it also eases monitoring. hasn't yet commenced, Mr. Chairman, because it is an unfunded priority, and we look forward to guidance on how this can start.
When questioned about why Posta Uganda had previously failed to pay its employees' salaries on time, James reminded the committee that Posta Uganda has never received a penny from government and it is totally self-sufficient. Therefore, they have faced issues similar to other sectors in the country.
Posta Uganda is a self-sustaining entity. It does not receive funding from government. And I do remember the prayers by Honorable Kahonda were two. How much money has Ministry of Finance released to Posta Uganda? And two, why did salaries delay? I'm quite sure that the political leadership will offer the response in Parliament, but the amount of money released by Ministry of Finance to Posta Uganda is zero.
The committee has asked that government pays taxes for its entities since it slows the nation's economic growth. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now, still in Parliament, though, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament has expressed his displeasure over ministers who deliberately miss plenary sessions, yet they have pending issues on the other paper to respond to. Now, this Deputy Speaker Tayebo has instructed that the administration of Parliament is set to draw a duty roster for ministers, and those who will abuse it will be named and shamed. We have more details.
Opposition could reach out to me, and I would arrange meetings.
Right Honorable Thomas Taiwa suspended plenary proceedings on different occasions due to failure by ministers to attend plenary sessions, yet they are required by the rules of the House to be present. Today, the Deputy Speaker tasked the Chief Whip to explain why such a trend has been perpetrated.
I don't know which kind of words I can use, but this is embarrassing. Okay? This is embarrassing. And I think it's a matter we shall again raise with the appointing authority. We know whether ministers are supposed to come here or they are not. If they are not, then we give them.
In his response, the government chief whip did not provide a clear answer, urging that even MPs do shun plenary on different occasions.
This house is guided by rules. And for me, apart from specifically speaking about ministers, I believe that we must be asking ourselves, where are the... Because even if we do physical counting here, honorable members, fine. It's a statement of fact.
On order, because, Mr. Speaker, you cannot use the absence or the poor attendance of the entire membership of the House to justify the conspicuous absence of ministers. Mr. Speaker, it is clear in the holy books that to whom much is given, much is expected.
With a solemn tone, Honorable Taiba directed the Parliament administration to keep an updated roster so that such ministers may be named and shamed.
Crack, we are going to be getting the rota for that day. When I reach here, I start calling. I say, you submitted the rota as a ministry. On this day, the Honorable so-and-so, you're the one who is supposed to be here. Because we agreed, we have many ministers in the ministries and work must go on. So I know like on a Thursday for Ministry of Roads, it's General Katumba Wamara.
The legislators have advised the government chief whip to whip his ministers before plenary sittings begin to avoid such occurrences in future. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
All right, now we talk matters disbursement of women and youth funds as the COVID-19 epidemic highlighted the importance and vulnerability of women. Women were, for instance, left out for economic aid measures in Uganda and compelled to leave for labor fields in order to care for their families. Thus, now the Ministry of Gender, together with leaders from the Ugandan Women Entrepreneurs Program and the Youth Livelihood Programs, have continued to disburse funds yet to support women and youth empowerment. This and more with Martha Nimsima.
Honorable Betty Among revealed that $3.097 billion has been disbursed towards the Youth and Women Fund to support economic growth, which is a positive indication of the government's commitment to promoting entrepreneurship among these groups. However, it is important to ensure that the disbursement process is transparent and that the funds are distributed fairly to those who are eligible and in need.
We are following up again today to give dummy checks to some of the, this is not for the whole country, but for selected districts that have performed well. And we are going to disburse today 3,097,000,000 in this occasion. And we want to show the rest of the districts out there that so long as you recover this money and you get groups to apply for this money, you are still able to be supported to get the money.
The Uganda Women Entrepreneurs Program and the Youth Livelihood Program have been in operation since 2015 and 2013, respectively, and have already supported the establishment and growth of over 60,000 businesses owned by youth and women. The programs have provided business training, mentorship, and financial support to enable entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses.
This program, in this financial year, it was decided that the money that the youth had recovered and the women groups had recovered should be revolved to the districts that had recovered the money. So we are glad to report that there are several, now at the moment, many districts, most of them have started the process of requisition, and we have already, when we give this check, these checks out this time around, we shall come to across approximately 7 billion shillings that we are going to disburse to the groups.
With effective implementation and management, these funds have the potential to contribute significantly to the socio-economic empowerment of youth and women, for it aims at promoting sustained, inclusive, and full productive employment.
Win is that young people can still access financing to start on their small ideas. This money is not money that is for sharing and eating or for getting married. This money is money for you to start a business. Wherever you are in the country, if you get the chance from Omoro, from Arua, from Nakapiripirit, from Kapelebyong, if you get the chance from Bududa, from Chisoro, from Rakai, please utilize this money to be able to start something within a group and be able to make sure that you are diligent, you're responsible, and your business grows.
These funds will be a game changer for businesses if managed in a transparent and accountable manner by their beneficiaries. This will help to ensure that funds reach those who are most in need and can benefit the most from the support.
As a pig farmer, this 8.5 million will help us grow our business.
Government's commitment to supporting women and youth entrepreneurship is also in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly Goal 5, which seeks to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, and Goal 8, which aims to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustained economic growth that would ensure full and productive employment for all. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's talk tax on Ssokos. Savings and cooperative organizations in the country have raised concerns against the Ministry of Finance for trying to fix yet another tax before their tax 10-year holiday is over. Now, according to the cooperators, Parliament waived off the 30 tax from their annual surplus for 10 years, but to their surprise, Finance is moving undercover to slap a 5-1-5 tax, depending on how, to slap a 5-15 tax, depending on how big the Ssonko is. We have the details in this report.
In 2015, the Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union, the umbrella body of all Ssokos across the country, petitioned the government challenging the 30% tax on their annual surplus. In 2016, Parliament waived off the tax for 10 years, a resolution that came into play from 1st of July 2017. However, these claim they are under cover plans to reintroduce yet another tax against them before their holiday expires.
But we continue to have fears that perhaps this tax is going to be reintroduced in a different way. I know we are aware that there are some proposals which have been floated that maybe smaller tax Ssokos could pay a small tax, and big circles will pay big tax.
That the smaller circles which have a capital share of 100 million pay 5%. And any circle above that share capital of 100 million pays 15%. Surely this will be a disgrace to circles because you cannot impose such a tax on the people's money.
The waiver was for 2027, and we have not crossed to 2027. So why would now the same government that waived off that tax reintroduce it, however much they are saying that they are going to reduce taxes? Have they evaluated and seen that actually the circles have grown? Have they reached that stage where we anticipated that they should have reached? Have they looked at those circles that are still struggling? And by that, when you are talking of circles that are still struggling, it means that even the people at the grassroots are still struggling.
Government had exempted circles from this tax as a way of recapitalizing, but also allowing them to build their own capital base to save them from external borrowing. Mushanga Sacco, located in Shema district, for example, made annual surplus over 1.7 billion, of which 30% corporation tax. Of this amount has been retained to capitalize their institution and 40 to 60% for members in dividends.
The intention of retaining 30% in the form of corporation tax and 40% in the form of non-cash dividends is to build our capital base, because we have realized that the money that is borrowed by our members is much higher than our working capital.
But while majority circles in the country are benefiting from this tax waiver, there is fear that once the government reintroduces taxes, the majority of them will collapse.
I don't think that there is any single member of parliament that is going to support that. If we waived it off to enable circles grow, now we cannot come back and say that reintroduce the taxes. I think government should look for other avenues where they can collect taxes rather than squeezing the already circles that we want them to grow.
All right, now let's start boosting the craft industry as the local artisans are now turning their skills into successful businesses, from basket weaving to wood carving, hence source of income for many people. Now, craftsmanship in Uganda is a practice that has been passed down from generation to generation. Bronia Katusime takes us through the craft world.
In Uganda, the art of craftsmanship has been practiced from generation to generation. It covers arts and crafts like wood carving, ceramics, basketry, and so on. Despite the industry's potential, Uganda hasn't had the same success as her neighboring East African nations in attracting the global market. This has brought Ugandan craftsmen together around a single goal: to sell their goods.
We as SMEs, the most challenging we get challenging from the custom. Simply because we as East Africa, we have the way whereby we come from our government, we got letter from our SME from the Kenya, and then we come that letter from the border. But sometimes the people at the custom, they don't recognize the letter. So whereby sometimes you come to pay up the revenue. About what I can complain is about the China products. China products in Africa, already they are sparing our business simply because they make fake things and they are cheap.
Because of transportations, remember we make this thing from Lira, and so our biggest market is here in Kampala so far, although we are also trying to set up our other up-country outlet. So our challenges is the raw material is very expensive. Since we are dealing in this type of products, we are using a tree called teak. Teak is a planted tree by some farmers in northern Uganda, mostly in Lira, Lango sub-region. So it takes between 15 to 20 years.
Crafts have a long and rich history for their vibrancy and diversity, ranging from textiles to pottery and a method to earn a livelihood, particularly in rural areas. Craft has been a source of revenue for the rural areas, especially when the tourists visit the tourism sites.
Vast materials. You can see they are making baskets. They are making some of these clothes, which you see the kitenge clothes, for making bags, for making other shoes, and very many. These materials are available here in this country. We can take advantage of these materials to make the arts and crafts, which can be sold to the people, and we shall be promoting Buy Uganda, Build Uganda.
But what I know,
we benefit. Since I'm just starting, but the income is somehow, I can't starve like others, like the way they are starving. But for crafty, you're the one making and you're the one knowing the what.
Additionally, creating a pipeline for young talent helps to ensure a continued growth and success of the industry by encouraging the young people to join. This can easily be done by introducing craft at the lowest levels of education, nursery as well as mentorship for young people interested in craft.
I encourage fellow youth, because I'm also under the youth, that instead of being loitering around and having nothing to do, I encourage them to invent themselves into craft industry. It's very profitable.
Furthermore, the tourism and technology have also contributed to the development and marketing of craft-made products in the region and on international markets. By use of social media, artists can be able to sell their products.
Technology has helped us to market our products. Our products are on international market. Tourists come in Uganda to buy our products, some of them. When they see gorillas in the forest, they will come here, he will take a portrait of a gorilla. So that is art.
More work needs to be done to promote Ugandan crafts both nationally and internationally in order to overcome these issues. Marketing initiatives, trade exhibitions, and internet markets may fall under this category. Secondly, additional assistance in form of training and access to resources like money and tools is required for artisans. The government can also chip in by offering subsidies, microloans, and training courses in marketing and business administration. Bernia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we return with more business today immediately after the break, so stick around with us.
Smart 24, driving business.
The taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya TV channels ku simu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data.
TV channels. Luxury redefined at Seasand Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are. Step into comfort, pampering and blissful customer-centric service as you select from our range of comfy, exquisite living quarters furnished to meet with your royal preference. Surrounded by scenic beauty, Our tropical setting allows you to escape the glamorous ordeal of city life. Our ambient green gardens will guide you to a place of revitalizing rest. The 3-star restaurant caters to your palate, serving your choice menu ranging from exotic cuisines to local delicacies. Our chefs will serve you full-course meals for a truly out-of-this-world culinary experience. Our fully stocked bar to whet your throat, from renowned global brand whisks, brandies, gins, beers and wines to our locally celebrated beverages, you will not lack for any brewage. It's an all-new experience in the East at Ssonko Hotel. So visit today at plot 15 to 19 Spire Road, Ginger, or contact us on +256 751 719 960 and +256 785 354 614 for reservations. Ssonko Hotels, luxury redefined.
Smart 24, driving business.
We'll be back from the break. You're still watching Business Today. Now, the Uganda Business and Technical Examinations Board, UBTEB, has released the November-December 2022 end-of-program examinations. For a total of 72,247 candidates, 21,641 were female and 50,606 were male from 600 examination centers across the country. However, UBTEB has called upon government to increase the budget of the board to support the implementation of technical and vocational education and training reforms. We have more details in this report.
In line with the NRM manifesto, the principled approach to economic development and growth has manufacturing, digitalization, science, among others, selected as priority areas of focus, and thus the results released included candidates who completed their studies in the following programs: Technical National Certificate Modular, Advanced Craft, Uganda Community Polytechnic Modular, Business Diploma Programs and Certificate Programs, as well as Physical and Biological Diploma and Certificates. Representing the First Lady in her keynote speech, State Minister of Higher Education says that the ministry has taken note of several developments to increase uptake, technical and vocational training.
With gratitude, the positive changes that are being implemented by the board in line with the priorities of government in skills development, especially increased access to technical vocational education and training through modular assessment that enables flexibility in training and acquisition of employable skills. I also take note that the board has continued to engage the heads of TVET institutions and the industry to ensure that practitioners in the world of work participate in assessment of trainees.
He further adds that having a strong and confident mindset is required by the current trends of innovation.
Century skills calls for the innovativeness and research for the delivery of qualitative aid that contributes towards the production of competent technicians and artisans for social and economic transformation.
Among the key noted points was the need to increase the budget of the board to support the implementation of the technical and vocational education and training reforms as enshrined in the TVET Policy 2019 through modularization of skills assessment, staff capacity, which will expedite flexible learning, innovation and employability of the technical and vocational training graduates.
That in this certificate, even we put exactly what the student can do, not necessarily paper. So if this person presents a certificate somewhere, and they'll be saying that this person can milk a cow. This person can mix the food for the animal. Specifically, it will be there for recruitment.
The board registered a total of 72,247, of which 21,641 were females and 50,606 were male candidates. For that assessment, it is probably because that the entry fee has continued to be favorable for the most unprivileged to join university to attend.
Examination fees, knowing the fact that the students who come on TVET, they are normally from the disadvantaged families. So since we started examining 2011, we have never increased fees. But the most ideal, because on average, each student pays about 120,000 per given series of examinations. And in a way, they are subsidized. But the ideal could even go up to 200,000 if you have to make it the best.
Class and teach about plumbing the house. You must have materials, cut them, fix them in the wall, and that calls for more funding. Why? Because if, for example, one is doing plumbing, you must use the real materials for what? For plumbing. If you are welding a door, you use the real materials. Because we are emphasizing training with production, that not models which people used to do. We want a person to weld a door which has the market value. So that one becomes a problem not for trainers.
Among key recommendations, stakeholders in the industry and private sector are called upon to offer industrial field attachments to the technical and vocational trainees and trainers for upskilling. And stakeholders have also been urged to partner with government and the board to promote awareness of the critical technical and vocational training programs that could make the youth productive, employable and relevant to the economy. Runana Habwe, Smart 24 TV Business Today.
All right, now the government is said to recapitalize the Post Bank. And of course, government wants to intervene and recapitalize the state-owned Post Bank in the next financial year following its shrinking paid-up capital. Now, besides that, the move intends to smoothen its operations, as revealed by the State Minister for Investment, Honorable Evelyn Anite. Penson Mombere has details.
A report from the Auditor General's office indicates that Post Bank was running out of capital, with its capitalization standing at only 98 billion as of December 2022. Yet, the financial institution's instrument of 2022 requires an entity that operates as a bank to have a minimum paid-up capital of 120 billion invested in liquid assets, as the central bank may approve. According to the World Bank Group's enterprise surveys, the Uganda's banking penetration is among the lowest in sub-Saharan Africa, meaning that small and medium enterprises in Uganda face particularly constrained access to finance. To minimize this, therefore, the Honorable Evelyn Anite, the Minister of State for Privatization, revealed that government is considering recapitalizing the Post Bank to enable it to make money available to sectors like manufacturing, agriculture at low interest rates.
What I am trying to emphasize here is that we have committed as government to give Post Bank more money. We resolved that the dividends that they declared to us this afternoon, they recapitalize it. And we also did resolve that we're going to get for them additional money such that their share capital of 150 is achieved. So that is what we resolved, and we're very, very happy that government was able to take this bold step of making sure that the bank is not underfunded and it meets its financial obligations, therefore give efficient service to the citizens.
Basing on the data from the bank by 2022, it realized growth in customer deposits by 36%, resulting in a net profit of 15.1 billion, while the total assets grew by 21.3% from 745 billion in 2021 to 946.6 billion in 2022. Julius Kaketo, the managing director of Post Bank, says that much as they are recording growth, they have faced challenges related to capital acquisition and rampant default rates.
The other challenge has been resolved today, has been around capital. Not that we don't have enough capital, but because the regulation, the laws have changed, and we need to increase capital to help us compete even better. That's another challenge. And of course, there's another challenge that is faced again by the industry, which is the high default rate. And that creates a lot of other challenges in the industry, including the interest rates. The general default rate in Uganda is always between 4 to 5%. So on average, every 100 shillings that you give out, 4 or 5 will not return. So it's really a very big challenge. And it is our job to support customers either through a lot of financial literacy, a lot of information, creating awareness, and monitoring and follow-up to make sure that the ones who lend money can actually pay.
The bank further recorded a total income growth from 144.5 billion in 2021 to 159.2 billion in 2022. The bank's shareholder equity as well grew from 117 billion in 2021 to 135.6 billion in 2022. The Honorable Evelyn Anita says that government will continue to invest in the banking industry and make sure that the state-owned commercial banks reduce lending rates for Ugandans who are interested in starting up businesses.
We have to continue supporting them, make them stand on their feet so that they make money available to our manufacturers, because our focus is in agribusiness, value addition, manufacturing. Like my president would say, our president would say that we don't care about the casino owners, but our focus really is the manufacturers. How do we address the issue of capital to the manufacturers? And we can only do that if we give more money to Post Bank, and Post Bank drops its interest rates. Other development countries like Germany, they will give it to you at 1%, 2%. That's where we want to go.
The endeavors of Post Bank came at a time when the Minister of Finance is appealing to the Parliament's Finance Committee to approve 217.330 billion for the recapitalization of the Bank of Uganda. However, the MPs wondered why government should shoulder the burden of recapitalizing the central bank, yet the entity charges government highly for the money it borrows. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now we head to our coffee court discussions. As earlier today, Jupiter passed out candidates fit for the labor market and entrepreneurship. Now, such are some of the many that have to fit into the multi-sector industries and innovations, some of which Uganda Development Corporation has undertaken or takes on to develop. And in tonight's Coffee Court conversations, Ronan Ahabo engages UDC's Christine Zake to understand issues such as job creation, development financing, import substitution, among other industrial concerns. Here is the Coffee Court.
Hello there and good evening to you tuned in to Smart 24 TV. Thank you for watching Business Today. I'm Ronan Ahabo and this is the Coffee Court. Now, UDC for a long time now has been deliberate about driving industrial growth, from transforming investments by utilizing raw materials to giving Ugandans jobs. For some of you that might know the Soroti Fruit Factory, the manufacturers of the Teju juice, they are the ones that established it. Now, today, to help me categorize some of these strategic projects, I'm with Christine Zake, the Director of Finance and Administration here at UDC. Christine, thank you for joining us and say hello to the viewers.
Yes, hello viewers. I'm glad to be here. Yes, I'm Christine Zake. I'm the Director of Finance and Administration at UDC. I'm glad to be here.
Now, to kick it off, what is the criteria of getting the UDC financial support?
Yes, for UDC, first and foremost, The way the investments come into the organization is either they are walk-ins or they are referrals, or we even set up or develop our own investments. And when we are looking at these investments, of course, there's a whole investment process that they go through, an appraisal process that includes a due diligence exercise and ends up with all the approvals all the way to the board. So when we are looking at the investments, some of the things we look at, actually 5 of them, is we look at whether they are employing our people. So those are the criteria that we look at when we're looking at these investments. Are they employing our people, whether directly or indirectly? Are they using our raw material? Is the project going to improve on the balance of trade? And here, when we are talking about balance of trade, we are basically talking about either import substitution or export promotion. So for example, I would give an example of the teas, the factories that we've invested in tea. That is mainly doing export. And then we can look at factories that we have set up or engaged with in cotton. That is import substitution. And then the other criteria that we look at is it developing our local content? And when we look at local content, what we are saying is for the new technologies, how do we pass these on to our local people? We've recently partnered with Abubakar, for example, in the road construction, and we intend to use that as a platform to train our local engineers in that sector. Then the last thing that we look at is whether it is going to help us with the regional balance. So we ensure that we have a footprint throughout Uganda such that we can be able to balance the development across the country. Then the other 3 aspects, of course, that we look at is that you'll have to fit within the 3 strategic areas of UDC that we have chosen to focus on. That is agro-manufacturing and mineral beneficiation and infrastructure development.
And so who is eligible for this UDC financial support?
So who is eligible? Of course, apart from the criteria that I've said, you are a legal entity that is rightly set up in Uganda, and then you are willing to allow for equity participation because as UDC, we take equity, and then, of course, you have to fit in with our strategic areas that we have looked at. And more importantly, you need to have, the project needs to have some socio-economic transformation elements in it, because as UDC, that is what we stand for. We only go to areas where we feel that there is need to have that transformation. So we don't go to areas where the private sector is doing very well. We are there to start development and then let the private sector take on from there.
How does UDC categorize its strategic projects? I've heard about Mutuma, the cotton, the sorority food factory, like I mentioned earlier, the one of the Tejijuis. I've seen coffee, quite a number of projects. How does it categorize and it's strategic in this area?
UDC currently has a 10-year strategic plan, and that's the one that guides our operations. In this strategic plan, we have chosen to focus on 3 strategic areas. We've chosen, like I've mentioned, to focus on agro-industrialization. And under agro, there's tea, coffee, sugar, just mention all of it. So the examples there I can give you is all the tea factories, for example, that we have invested in. We've invested in a sugar processing plant. We've invested in a cotton processing plant. We've invested in a cassava processing plant that uses cassava to transform it to ethanol. And that's how we categorize elements in the agro-industrialization sector. Then the other section or category is the mineral beneficiation. So under mineral beneficiation, we are talking about cement, we are talking about steel, we are talking about iron ore, and marble, glass, and to mention but a few. Then the third category that we've chosen to focus on is the infrastructure and services development. And under this category, we have construction. So that's where the road construction element will come in. That is where you'll find the Kalangala infrastructure services. That is, as you may know, it is one that provides transport from the mainland to the island of Kalangala. And then we also have under that sector tourism and hospitality, and also manufacturing in medical sundries.
Do we have any factories for the meal beneficiation?
At the moment, we are still in the process of establishing one in Moroto, and that will be a cement factory. But we'll also be looking at manufacturing an element that they call clinker that is used to manufacture cement, and to help to reduce the importation of that element or that material that is used in cement manufacturing.
How committed is UDC to transform Uganda to the middle income, country in 2040? Because that is our vision. Because you drive, economic and industrial growth. How committed are you?
Yes, UDC, as it was established, is an investment arm of government. And right from our principles, the ones I've talked about of ensuring that our people are employed, ensuring that our raw material is used, ensuring the trade balance, that is all efforts towards our commitment. And we have a pipeline of very rich investments towards that direction. So as UDC, we are very committed, and in everything that we do, we look to ensuring that there is social and economic transformation in the country. Yes, UDC is a corporate entity that was established by an act of parliament, UDC Act 2016. And so we are a corporation, a government corporation, and therefore do comply with the regulations of or the laws of Uganda. So for example, you'll find that whenever we are doing our procurement, we will have to ensure that we comply with the PPDA regulations. Whenever we need to set up a company, we comply with the Companies Act or all the acts that are relevant to that aspect. We have our UDC Act that we comply with. So we are not an island. We sit within Uganda, and we have to comply with the regulations and laws of Uganda.
Maybe to maintain the spectrum around finance and rural industrialization, I recently saw that your ED signed an MOU when they had gone for the Uganda Business Forum in South Africa with the president. They signed an MOU, and I believe that is in a way of still economic transformation. Now, for the side of farmers and all the enormous projects that you have, Mutuma, salt factory, coffee, how have you positioned yourselves as UDC for the Local Content Act? Because it was passed, I think, last year. For it to be felt, for local content, I mean a local Ugandan, how best can they benefit from it?
Like I said, in everything that we do, of course, we ensure that Ugandans are at heart. Now, we partner with Ugandan-based companies. And in ensuring that, for example, our raw materials are used, or in the principle of ensuring that this project employs our people, that is where the local Ugandan will benefit. Because when you come to us, we're asking you, how many jobs are you going to create? So both directly and indirectly. And for example, if I use the example of the tea factories employ people in the factory, but remember there are people who have plantations. So all that is employment, and that is how the local Ugandan will benefit. UDC, first and foremost, has a proper governance body. So we also have a board of directors. So right from the planning of any activity in UDC, it involves the management and the board. Secondly, Parliament is also involved in our activities, from the appropriation of the funds to the monitoring of the activities that we do. We are audited by the Auditor General, who also comes to audit us, our books. And all these are efforts to ensuring that we comply and we are transparent in what we do. How I position myself It's just ensuring that you do the right things at the right time and ensure that, of course, time is of essence, and ensuring that the processes are followed. Yes, that's how we position it. UDC is committed to the drive of industrial growth, and like it is anchored in everything, right from the Vision 2040 to the National Development Plans to the NRM Manifesto, and recently to the framework that was created through the National Industrial Development Policy. We are in it to win and move the country forward. So we breathe and sleep and dream economic and social development of Uganda.
Well, there you have it from Christine Zake, who is the Director of Finance and Administration at Uganda Development Corporation. Like she enlightened and highlighted, UDC is very strategic on economic and industrial transformation. That's all we had for you today on Coffee Court. I'm Rona Nahabwe, and have a lovely evening.
All right, that's all for business tonight. But let's first have a rewind of our top stories.
In business today, ICT as well as companies under it submit their policy statements. UTP launches the country's finance institution of 50 billion green fund to catalyze investment. And Deputy Speaker expresses his displeasure over ministers who misuse plenary sessions.
The clock is ticking 9:57 East African Standard Time. I'm Joram Ssonko with Winnie and Nakawuki on sign language. And this has been Business Today. We do wish you a blessed night and a very warm evening wherever you're watching Smart 24 from. Till tomorrow, have a good night and a good evening.